Picture this, it's 1998 and you're sitting on the scratchy school oval grass opening your lunchbox. Inside, past the Vegemite sandwich your mum cut into triangles, is the holy grail of recess snacks. A brightly coloured choc chip Uncle Tobys muesli bar, or maybe it's a snack with those 3 perfect cheese to cracker ratios. Or, if you were one of the lucky ones, an infamous fruit roll-up, a snack that came with its own playground legend about whether you could stretch it to a full meter. For millions of Aussie kids, that red Uncle Tobys logo was a core childhood memory. A comforting, familiar sight in the kitchen cupboard that felt as fundamentally Australian as the Opera House. That feeling was no accident. Uncle Tobys became a master of marketing the Australian dream back to us. For decades, they built an empire on a simple, powerful promise: wholesomeness. Their TV ads were a masterclass in emotional engineering. They gave us sun-drenched golden fields of oats, ruggedly handsome farmers with dirt on their hands, and a production line of elite Aussie swimmers, all powered to Olympic glory, apparently by a humble bowl of oats. The brand cemented itself in our minds as a choice you could trust. But trust is a fragile thing, and the story of what happened to that trusted Aussie icon is a textbook example of how a beloved brand can become a shiny local mask for something much, much darker. For a brand that built its entire identity on being Australian, the plot twist came on May 23rd, 2006. On that day, the company we all thought of as our own was sold to Nestlé, the Swiss global food titan who swooped in and bought Uncle Tobys for a jaw-dropping $890 million. For anyone who follows corporate ethics, that name alone is a giant, flashing red flag. To understand why the sale of our favorite muesli bar company to this specific corporation is such a big deal, you need to understand who exactly Nestlé is. That requires opening up a dossier of corporate scandals so shocking, it's a wonder they're still in business. First, there's the infamous baby formula scandal. In the 1970s, Nestlé launched a ruthless marketing campaign in developing nations, pushing its infant formula as a modern, scientific alternative to breastfeeding. The results were catastrophic. In communities that lacked reliable access to clean water, mothers would mix the expensive powder with contaminated sources, leading to a devastating wave of infant illness, malnutrition, and death. It was a tragedy so profound that critics famously labeled the campaign, quote, killer marketing, and it sparked one of the largest and longest running consumer boycotts in history. Then there's the water wars. Nestlé is one of the world's largest bottler of water, and they have a global pattern of moving into communities and pumping out millions of liters, even from drought-stricken areas. Take California, for example. For years, during one of the worst droughts in the state's history, Nestlé was pumping millions of gallons a year from a national forest on a permit that had technically expired, all while locals were under strict water rationing. And the list doesn't stop there. For decades, Nestlé has been dogged by allegations of child labor and modern slavery in the West African cocoa supply chains that feed its massive chocolate empire. If that's not enough, global audits by the Break Free from Plastic movement have consistently named Nestlé as one of the top 3 plastic polluters on the planet. This is all thanks to the billions of single-use plastics, wrappers, and sachets they pump into the world every single year. Now, it would be easy to paint this as a simple story of an innocent Aussie brand being corrupted by an evil foreign giant. But that's not the whole truth. The reality is that Uncle Tobys had its own habit of misleading the public long before Nestlé ever entered the picture. The company's wholesome image already had some serious cracks. A key part of the brand's success comes from a marketing principle known as the health halo. This is where a brand's strong positive association with one healthy product creates an undeserved aura of healthiness around its other, more processed products. The core identity of Uncle Tobys is built on the undeniable health benefits of their 100% natural rolled oats. This creates a powerful halo. When shoppers see the trusted red logo, they associate it with health, and this positive feeling naturally extends to the entire product line. However, a closer look at the ingredient list for these other products reveals a very different story. While the master brand whispers health, the reality of many products is far sweeter. Many of their muesli bars, snack foods, and flavored instant oat sachets are loaded with added sugars, processed starches, and artificial ingredients. It's a significant disconnect that often places these products closer to confectionery than health food, yet they all get to hide under that same wholesome umbrella. But this isn't just a matter of opinion. Uncle Tobys has been formally and repeatedly called out for its deceptive practices by Australia's own consumer watchdog, the ACCC. Let's go back to 2006, the same year as the Nestlé takeover. The ACCC took action against Uncle Tobys for the claims on its most iconic snack, the fruit roll-up, whose packaging proudly states that it was made with 65% real fruit. This was a key reason parents felt good about buying them. But the ACCC found this claim to be deeply misleading. The product wasn't made of pureed fruit. It was made from concentrates and sugars, leading the ACCC to force them to stop using the claim. It was a clear-cut case of false advertising. Fast forward to 2015, and this time, the ACCC slapped them with a $32,400 fine for making false or misleading representations about the protein content in its oats. The packaging was designed to give the impression that the oats were a significant source of protein, which they weren't. The ACCC noted that this fine was only issued after they had already sent 3 prior warnings to the company about similar conduct. To add to that, a widespread sentiment has emerged among the very people who grew up loving the brand, fueled by a tangible sense of disappointment in the products they once cherished. The most common criticism is shrinkflation. There's a persistent feeling that the muesli bars are noticeably smaller than they used to be, even as the price has crept higher. Beyond just the size, there are consistent complaints about a drop in quality. A common refrain is that the products simply don't taste the same. This perceived decline is almost universally linked back to one pivotal event: the Nestlé takeover. The prevailing belief is that the new corporate owner began cutting corners, tweaking cherished recipes, and shrinking products to squeeze every last drop of profit from the brand, trading its legacy for a healthier bottom line. So when you put it all together, the picture that emerges is not one of an innocent brand corrupted. It's the story of a brand that already had a history of misleading its customers, which then merged with a global corporation that has turned misleading the public into a global art form. So where does that leave us? After peeling back the layers of nostalgia, corporate spin, and slick marketing, what is the real Uncle Tobys today? The first and hardest truth is that the brand we remember is gone. The simple, honest Aussie farmer from the commercials was never really there, but now, even the ghost of that idea has been replaced. What remains is a brand with a documented, cynical history of deceiving customers, whose modern identity, according to the very people who grew up with it, is one of shrinking boxes, fading flavor, and declining quality, a shadow of its former self. But the deeper issue, the one that's harder to swallow than a dry muesli bar, is what Uncle Tobys has become. It is now the single most powerful tool Nestlé has in the Australian kitchen cupboard. It is their friendly local mask, a smiling, trusted face that serves to hide a global corporate machine with one of the worst ethical track records on the planet. The money from that nostalgic box of oats, the one you buy because it feels safe and familiar, doesn't just go to Aussie farmers anymore. A good chunk of it takes a long trip to a boardroom in Switzerland where it joins the profits from a global empire linked to the relentless privatization of water, to allegations of child labor in its chocolate supply chain, and to the plastic pollution that chokes our oceans. The Uncle Tobys we grew up with has been replaced by something far more complicated and far more insidious. But what do you think? Is buying a trusted brand like Uncle Tobys an innocent choice, or does that money support a global giant with a history we can't ignore? Drop your thoughts on brand ownership and corporate responsibility in the comments below. We'd love to hear your take. And if you enjoyed this investigation, make sure to give it a thumbs up, hit subscribe, and ring the bell so you don't miss our next deep dive. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, stay curious.